The killing of Ahmaud Arbery grabbed national attention when the New York Times released video of his confrontation with the three men charged with his murder. That video then sparked outrage and national protests. The national spotlight will return to Brunswick, Georgia, Monday morning as jury selection begins. More than 1,000 county residents have been summoned for jury duty, but only 12 will be chosen to decide the guilt or innocence of Greg and Travis McMichael and William Roddy Bryan. With me now is my trusty co-counsel, veteran prosecutor, and BNC's legal contributor, Paul Henderson. All right, Paul, this case made history before it even went to trial, right? Largely because of the video that was recorded by the then suspect. But this time, we weren't talking about a police killing. Then the alleged efforts that were made to protect the defendants by local law enforcement, including district attorneys. Now, 20 months later, after Ahmaud was shot and killed, we're finally seeing the men responsible for his death be tried, starting with jury selection on Monday. What can we expect to see from both sides in this deselection process?
You're going to see a lot, right? Like, certainly in a case like this that has some notoriety, and you have to give context to it because we're talking about a small town. This is a town that essentially has 16,000 residents, just over 16,000 residents. And so a lot of people are already familiar with what has happened and have opinions already about what they think is the just and fair things to do. And just to give you more color and background about this whole trial, that town in particular, it's an African-American town. So more than 50% of that town is African-American. And with 1,000 people being called into that courtroom, there's a high likelihood with a town of just 16,000 people that a lot of people being called in know each other, and these are their friends, neighbors, people they went to school with already. And this is before they've even opened the door and asked one question. And so I'm curious to see from the lawyers how they're going to sort out a small town jury to figure out, one, if they're familiar with the facts and circumstance in this case, and how can they not be? But then secondly, can they be fair and impartial about determining an outcome in this case? Those are going to be the big questions that are going to predominate jury selection from the beginning, from both sides, trying to figure out if they can pull out a non-prejudiced jury about making a determination. Now, what's interesting to me, just in looking at that jury approach, is determining what a jury of your peers are when you have a community like this that is largely a community of color. What does a community of your peers, which is in the Constitution, what you're allowed with criminal charging, what does that mean in a circumstance like this where the defendant is white, where the victim is black, and whether or not that's going to be a factor in how people are making choices as to who's going to sit on that jury?
Well, some say, okay, how can you find prospective jurors who haven't actually heard of this case? And I'd agree with that, given the national attention and the size, as you mentioned, the size of this city. But that doesn't mean those who have knowledge of this case can't sit on the jury, right?
That's absolutely correct. I think you'd be really hard pressed if you're trying to find someone that hasn't heard about this case, especially, like I said, in a small town like this, where it's just over 16,000 people. I think both sides are going to have to give up on that really quickly, and they may find folks that have not known about or are aware of what this case is. And I'd be curious as to which side would be likely to keep that juror that doesn't know anything about it or hasn't heard anything, because this is a big deal in this town. Separate from the incident itself, which is more than just a tragedy, it's offensive. There have been rallies, there have been town halls, there's been a lot of conversation about the repercussions of this case and the implications, not just of what's going on in Brunswick, but what it means about our criminal justice system as well, and race disparities that have been built into this process that are going to be shined upon or focused on throughout this trial. And in some ways, that focus is a shift from what we saw from the George Floyd case, where we really drilled down deeply on policing. And in this case, we're going to be exposed to really offensive behavior from vigilantes. We saw offensive behavior from law enforcement. We're going to hear about bad behavior from prosecution itself. And keep in mind, in the background, there's still civil lawsuits challenging what's happened in this case that's running concurrently at the same time as this criminal trial.
Now, initially, the men involved claimed that they were attempting to make a citizen's arrest, which was a law that was in effect at the time of Ahmaud's killing. But since then, the Georgia General Assembly repealed the law that allowed private citizens to make such arrests. Do you think that the defense will try and make their case using the citizen's arrest statute, or will they have better luck making a case for self-defense?
I'm so glad you raised that as an issue. Yes, that's exactly what they're going to do. And I am so offended at the crap of that approach, because let's just expand to what their full defense is. What they've said was they thought that Ahmaud Arbery was suspicious and acting suspiciously, number one. Two, they said they were making a valid citizen arrest. And then three, they said that he was suspected of being involved in a string of robberies. All three of those are lies and incorrect. And that is the foundation of their defense walking into this case before anyone has even said a word. And every single one of those arguments are false already before we get out the gate for them to say one word. It's not a surprise to me. And I'm offended once again at the approach from them and the defense attorneys' approach in this case, which has heretofore, before again the trial has even begun, have taken an approach of trying to look at Ahmaud Arbery and introduce his mental health records, which was denied on October 1st, to challenge and try and introduce his probation record with the justification that that would show why he ran and why the defendants chased him, neither which of those things are true, and none of that is relevant. And so I'm curious to see where we go from here when we already know the things that they have made assertions about in the past have been completely false. I want to make sure that this court is focused on the defendants and don't put Ahmaud Arbery on trial.
All right. Well, I was going to ask you one last question. Do I have time? Okay, yes, I do have time. All right, so in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a jury consultant talking about the divided coastal Georgia community says, quote, "I think of any case I've worked on, this has a higher chance of a hung jury than I've ever seen." Do you agree this could be a hard case for the jury to come to a unanimous decision?
I mean, I am never one to guess about what a jury's going to do, because I've been a trial lawyer a long time and I've seen outcomes that have surprised me. But this is one that, once again, like Trayvon Martin, like George Floyd, I feel very strongly about and passionate about. And it seems so clear to me from the video, and I can't understand how anyone seeing that video couldn't come to a clear conclusion as to who was engaged in wrongdoing. But I'm hoping that that's not the case. And from what I've seen from the video, what I know of the law, there should be a conviction that should be very quickly, but you never know. And things happen in this country that disappoint me all the time. And so it's hard to say, but I'm curious to see how the evidence comes in and the arguments that are made from the prosecution before I try and hedge my bet on what the outcome is likely to be.
All right, Paul, we could talk about this all night, but I've got you coming back later in the hour, so I'll see you again in a bit.